Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to speak at this important event. I will talk about Europe's role in the Indo-Pacific, which has greatly expanded over the past decade. Europe has built strong partnerships in the Indo-Pacific because it seeks to enhance its role in the Indo-Pacific economic and security arena. The EU is a global economic heavyweight, which is able to push back at illegitimate Chinese industrial, economic, and human rights policies, such as intellectual property theft, unfair state-supported competition, and widespread censorship. And Europe is now starting to do so despite China's economic importance to the region. In the security arena, until recently, the European footprint mostly relied on French and UK naval diplomacy. In particular, France has taken the lead in adopting a hard power European response to China's growing presence in the Indo-Pacific. The French tradition of a strong and independent defense profile and the country's Indo-Pacific territories make it well positioned to develop a European defense footprint in the region. And by joining forces with like-minded Asian partners, such as India, Japan, Australia, and include its overseas territories in base sharing arrangements, France helps to prove the point that European contributions to Indo-Pacific security are significant today. Other European countries are slowly but surely joining the French and the UK effort, as witnessed by the publication of Indo-Pacific strategies this year, both by the EU, by Germany, by the Netherlands, to mention a few. And these embrace and support a European security footprint in the Indo-Pacific. In 2019, I was deployed on the French carrier Charles de Gaulle's trip to the Indo-Pacific for a month, and already then it was very clear to me that France is closely cooperating with the Quad, even if it's not a formal member. The EU is not part of such efforts, but the EU supports the efforts of member states to engage with Quad member states and other Indo-Pacific middle powers by building strategic partnerships, by making free trade agreements, and by increasingly implementing connectivity projects with what you can call like-minded Indo-Pacific middle powers: South Korea, Australia, India, Singapore, and many others. So in this way, the EU provides a supportive frame for individual countries and groups of countries that wants to go further, and especially in the security and military field. All these middle powers, they partner up with each other because they're similarly exposed to security and economic challenges from China, and they need each other to establish unity, support, and also best practices in how to meet these challenges. At the same time, to varying degrees and in various ways, these powers prefer not to choose sides between the US and China, but to base their security on cooperation with the US while maintaining cooperation with China. And several of these middle powers, including Europe, also relies on using more low-key diplomatic pressures towards Beijing rather than a more confrontational approach. In Europe's case, because it's an economic heavyweight and it's best able to use this type of power to influence China. The policy coordination that took place between the US and Europe under Trump on establishing protective mechanisms against illicit Chinese practices, such as export controls, connectivity programs, etc., with like-minded Asian powers in Southeast and East Asia is continuing under Biden and is indeed strengthened. Such middle power relations in the Indo-Pacific should be encouraged by the US. Washington needs allies in that region who are sufficiently strong to operate independently from the US and that can take action on economic and security challenges from China without calling on the US before doing anything. Of course, independent middle power relations will mean that the agendas of these partnerships are sometimes not aligned with US interests. For instance, trade may be diverted away from the US in some areas and towards other the middle powers, and the instruments used to manage challenges from China may differ from those preferred by the United States. However, such differences should not prevent the US from recognizing that the benefits of such relationships outweigh the costs. And I would argue that middle power relations are a necessary development in establishing networks between US allies and partners. And if this proceeds, it will add up to a formidable entity that is able to push back against illicit Chinese challenges to a free and open Indo-Pacific across a wide range of issues, while at the same time helping to stabilize the tensions that are created by US-Chinese strategic competition, precisely because these middle powers do not want to choose sides between the two. So they're going to continue to find ways to also cooperate with China. I'll stop there. Thank you for letting me speak, and I look forward to the discussion.